response video to Fred. Yeah. So it's the same old conversation, and I'm sure we're not going to get any of the specifics I'm asking for, which is the demonstration of, humble me. Show me how I need to be humbled. Provide the mechanism of it. All you have to do is prove me wrong a couple of times, and gee, I'll have to be humble, won't I? I'll have to concede. But so far, yeah, it's been thin on any evidence of the wrongness. So his contention is that not only am I wrong, it's that I'm wrongly confident in my wrongness. And somehow the argument goes something like this: the more you know, the more you don't know. That somehow when you reveal the truth of what we know about things, you become more confused and more uncertain. You take a few hundred cars apart and somehow you don't become more confident in how cars are put together and your capacity to take them apart and put them back together. Somehow you should have less confidence. Somehow you should be struck by some sort of plague of uncertainty and confusion, because now you understand exactly the function of the thing and exactly how it tolerances and all the rest of it fit together. Like evolution, for example. Yeah, so the more evidence you explore or become aware of in terms of explaining the dynamic and understanding this mechanism of this genetic code and the fact that these molecules are evolving and that we're basically just the demonstration model, the tool being used to prove whether the modification is the one that should be preserved or not. Well, anyway, the more you learn, somehow the more confused you should be, the more uncertain you should be about the process of evolution, understanding that it's, the chemical mechanism and function of it. So anyway, I want to drag that out, but that's the argument here, and in my opinion, it's on its face, it's just flatly bullshit. It's just like any cliche, like most of the cliches these people function by. It's just rubbish. So, let's see what happens here, but I'm sure nothing good will happen.
This is a quick response to Gary about confidence. He responded to my video, confidence in lack. What I'm saying there, Gary, basically, or one of the things I'm saying, is that it's a good idea to try to match the level of confidence one has to the amount of knowledge one has. And even then...
Again, confidence isn't based on the amount of knowledge. It's based on whether or not the clarity or the truth value of something. I mean, you don't need validation of certain confidences. You have an itchy back. You're in a pine forest. A bunch of needles are falling down. You should be pretty confident it's a pine needle inside the back of your shirt that's scratching your neck. You don't need to be speculating on 9 other million causes or anything else. I mean, there's circumstances where, it all points to it, and there's just no reason not to convict. You want to pretend there is? I think that's just pretending.
Probably underestimate the amount of knowledge one has in terms of applying confidence. It's a general principle, really, in terms of how we gather knowledge and how philosophy and science and those things.
How we? I don't know. Who's we? You mean the other pompous assholes? I don't who's your icons here? Who's the go-to guy to demonstrate how to be who's adequately humble? You want to point me to some of these people, please?
You shouldn't let your confidence in an idea run ahead of what you actually know. That's the thing. And you tend to do that. I mean, at least in appearance. Maybe it's just
maybe it's just out of your mouth and nothing else, right? I mean, just please back it up with something. I mean, again, it's not that hard. The target isn't moving. The videos aren't running away. the statements I'm making, the theories I'm putting on the table, the hypotheses, don't require decades of advanced learning. It's not calculus required or something. The regular human skill set can grasp the ideas. So why don't you demonstrate one of them to be just bollocks and such? Do it.
A video making style, and you don't actually feel as confident as you seem to be. But a lot of the time you do say, oh, this is not simple stuff, I'm absolutely sure this stuff is true, it's real, all these kind of terms, which suggest, an overwhelming confidence, almost an overbearing confidence, you might say. But it doesn't match the level of knowledge you have about the subject you talk about. I mean, you seem...
Well, it says you. How do you know what my knowledge is? I mean, really, how do you know what my knowledge on any subject is? How the hell would you know? Oh, because you're an authority on the subject? Is that it? I mean, I would think at first it would have to take somebody qualified to know that I'm unqualified. And second, who are you to tell somebody else what they have to know a subject? I mean, familiarity with something means that maybe I've contemplated it longer than any other human on earth. Maybe I've looked at a can of beer in more angles and in more ways than anybody else on earth. Maybe I could be, theoretically, an expert on beer cans. Who the hell are you to tell me? Who the hell are you to say so? Oh, that's right, no one. Just an arrogant fuck. Talking about people who are overly confident. Which is in itself is, what do you call that? Oxymoronic. Yeah, Professor Oxymoronic.
I mean, the reason why I say it might just be appearance, because clearly some of the things you know almost nothing about, like the physics and biology stuff.
Yeah, the physics and the biology I know almost nothing about. Compared to who? To be serious? Who made a video titled, Inmendum is Wrong, and she was wrong? Compared to who, Fred? Compared to what? Again, and who are you to say? How do you know what the extent of my knowledge is, and in what areas of those two subjects, which have a lot of specialties involved in them, who are you to say that I'm not competent, that I haven't done enough research in the areas that are relevant to the claims I'm making? Oh, that's right. Again, you have no way of knowing. You're just a fucking slandering cunt. Fine. I think you're a lousy artist, by the way. Yeah, okay. I don't think you know shit about theater. I mean, good theater. That's for sure. There. Is that okay? Should I do that? I don't think you're qualified to be a professor of anything. How's that?
About consciousness you talk about. I mean, you've got very little information on that. That's really clear from the Draft Science videos.
But it's really clear from the blah, 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 blah. Well, nothing's even clear coming out of your mouth here. So, I mean, if you're going to make a clear accusation, you ought to do it clearly. You ought to state it clearly so it can be understood. So let's play it again and see if we can understand what he says.
Very little information on that. That's really clear from the Draft Science videos, for example.
From the back of the Draft Science videos, for example. Yeah, the ones called Draft Science. That's right. The ones that are completely made up of speculations. And you're saying, okay, now you're saying that it's clear that they're somehow ignorant videos, but you're not going to point out how they're ignorant. How they are colossally and preposterously on their face. You know them to be wrong. Yeah, you're not even going to do that, you ballless wonder. Douchebag. And again, you're qualified to say. You're qualified to say who has expertise and who does not. Who has spent enough time contemplating something to know it inside and out. Who hasn't. You're clairvoyant that way. Is that it? Fuckhead.
But the amount of confidence you display in those videos, seems equal to the rest of your stuff, really. So it just seems, at least on its face.
Yes, I'm confident that physicists don't have a clue. Okay, and they demonstrate that, Fred. So again, the authorities on that subject are chasing their own, are pulling shit out of their asses. 1/3 of them believe this, 1/3 believe that, 1/3 believe that. right? Because it's all theoretical mumbo jumbo. And so again, you're an authority though. You know that 1/3, one of those 1/3 answers is correct somehow, because you know my answer is incorrect by comparison to those wrong answers they're following. You know, come on. Either the cat's alive or the cat's dead, or blah blah blah, or the Hulsenberg interpretation, or the whatever, the Fruit Loop interpretation. Yeah, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But you do. You know which one's right, right? You do, because you're an expert.
That you are, it's just hubristic, is that the word? Just, overwhelming amount of misplaced confidence. I mean,
misplaced again? How? How is it misplaced? If none of you little weasels have the balls to ball up and show me to be wrong, then how is it misplaced? You can't say it's misplaced unless you demonstrate where, look, Gary, you've been shown to be wrong, so you're totally out of place to have any confidence. Well, until you show me to be wrong, I guess you can't say I have no reason to be confident. You can't call it hubris then. Fuckhead. Alright, continuing and such.
just as an example of that, I mean, the consciousness stuff you've talked about. You've made a number of videos about consciousness itself and about the things that fall under that general rubric. Things like to do with free will discussions, or to do with intentionality and agency, or to do with what a self is. All these kind of things relate to what's broadly called consciousness studies. And but it's clear that you know nothing about that.
Oh, whatever. So again, no specifics, no anything, blah, blah, blah. I have one, Fred. Okay, so right there, I know something about it. And I knew at least more than most people have known for decades, and I certainly did know that we weren't not using 70% of our brain, because some idiot pokes electrodes into a brain and says, oh, he didn't say anything, therefore that part of the brain must not be doing anything. Yeah, I was smart enough to figure out that was fucking pseudoscience. So whatever. Without specifics, this is just petty bullshit, you weasel.
Well, you know little about it. I mean, I'm not an expert in consciousness.
Oh, well, you're enough of an expert to decide who has qualifications to opine. Fuck you.
Into science at all. But I know a damn sight more than you do.
About what, Fred? What? What do you damn sight know more about it than I do? What? What? Your consciousness is double consciousness or something? Fuck you.
I've read a lot of the literature on this. I used to subscribe to Consciousness Studies Journal and read that. I've got the collection at home.
And that means something to anybody? To Be Serious does that too. Does it seem to make her smarter? I don't think it does necessarily. But whatever. Consciousness Today. Whatever. I mean, whatever. I mean, I make specific points. You can't argue the specific points. You can't demonstrate how they're fundamentally wrong. You're just going to claim it. I mean, shit. The argument from I say so. Yeah, I think that's called a fallacy, fuckhead.
I've given papers at conferences about consciousness, including speaking to the British Psychological Society.
Yeah, go. So what? Did you strip down naked and stand there for 8 minutes? Huh? No, different conference.
Society about some work I was doing on consciousness. So I'm not an expert at all. I'm really, really well behind the curve in terms of knowing that. But I probably know 50 or 60 times more than you do.
Yeah, where do you pull this? Why do you pull this out of your ass? How exactly do you do that? How exactly do you know? How do you know that you've gone through your brain in more detail than I've gone through mine? Or that I have maybe tapped inner places of revelation when it comes to consciousness? Who the hell are you to make these fucking statements? Again, when you demonstrate nothing I'm saying to be wrong. Take a quote from me and you show me how it's entirely wrong.
And yet you seem extraordinarily confident about what when you say make these proclamations or do the drawings about consciousness. And to me, as someone who knows about that stuff, at least to the extent that I do a little bit, I know how wrong you are in most of those things. And how
Again, more just plain talk. Is it that really hard? It's not that hard to do, right? You take a quote and you say, this is, okay, this one's completely wrong. And the drawings on consciousness, I said when I was making the drawing, I'm going to start. I'm just going to throw in the elements that I know of. And, I'm willing to argue some of these points. But I mean, the basic theme of the argument, the idea of feedback and how our senses work, I don't think you're going to find any argument against any of that. But you have to make the argument, you pussy.
naive most of those demonstrations are. So I just think, how could he be so confident and yet know so little? And there's nothing wrong with knowing little. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But being confident is a bit weird. I mean, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what you're...
Yeah, well, whatever. You're not sure of anything. You don't make an argument. I'm sure of one thing. If you're going to say somebody else is wrong or they don't know anything, then it's really easy. You go ahead and demonstrate it. If there's a retard bashing his head in against a brick wall and I want to point it out to him, it's not that hard for me to explain to him why it's no good. Show him a picture, show him a mirror and see the damage you're causing to your brain, and that's not going to make you work any better. It's just going to make you work less well, and it's pretty easy to explain why it's not a good thing to do. So why don't you just explain how I'm wrong, fuckhead? Ugh, this is just insufferable crap. Pompous ass.
Or field days, or what your areas of expertise are, coding or something, I guess, but I can't cite any examples for that. But, let's say you know a lot about engines, you know a lot about cars. I know very little. I know just enough to do what I did last week, which is to fix the exhaust pipe, put some brake pads on, and change the oil. That's about it. And I'm guessing you know a lot, because you've talked a lot about car engines at various times.
No, I'm not an expert on cars. I was a C mechanic, which means, you just do tune-ups, you do the basic shit. But whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, now, fuck expert. You got to be an expert in reading, whiny codes. Who the hell would want to do that?
So it would be like me making a video talking about drawing a picture of what lies under the bonnet of a car. Getting it all wrong and say, this is where the motivational power source is, and this is where the essence of turniness lies.
Well, again, yeah, do it. Okay? I mean, fuck. Again, you're going to say somebody's wrong, then have the balls to show them to be wrong. God, this is so disgusting.
And being very confident about how the inner workings of the internal combustion engine work. And just getting it wrong, and you just look at me and think, you're fucking insane. Pick up a head.
No, I don't do that. No, I pointed out how Warble's Onalot is a fucking lying jackass to talk about a 30% fuel burn difference, right? And I pointed out why he's wrong, okay? Why alternators do not use 30% of your fuel. Yeah, why it's preposterous nonsense. And I pointed it out. So you do that for me, fuckhead, before you make your empty, finger-pointy accusations, you weasel.
This manual you would shout at me, you fucking retard. So that's what I feel with you. Pick up a few books about consciousness, if it's consciousness you're talking about, or if you're not.
Why would I bother? Again, why would I assume I'm going to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I think that guy knows what he's talking about? It's just not one of those kind of subjects, unfortunately. It's one of those subjects where it takes a little bit, it's more than one discipline that's required to contextualize the function. It's not just chemistry, and it's just not electricity, and it's just not neuroscience. It's more, you need more than that to be able to understand function in the context of evolution and all that crap too. So why don't let's just take one thing I've brought up, is the fact that human babies have a longer maturation than any other organism in the world, right? And that seems rather significant. It seems a weird evolutionary feature that you'd create a baby that was so fucking useless for so fucking long. And that might have a key connection to why human beings have the brain change that we have. It's not about the size of our brain. It's about how our brain is used. And that would be an indication or a piece of evidence that, yes, it's more about use of the brain and how the brain is programmed, pre-programmed, the operating system's installation. So I've made the argument, I don't know if somebody else has made it or not, but that there might be there seems to be a correlation, okay, between that slow maturation, which seems non-intuitive evolutionarily, and the fact that human beings can do this abstract vocabulary thing.
Big reader, you know, and a lot of people have, you know, reading difficulties. I'm not saying that's you, a lot of people do, there's no shame in that. You know, there's plenty of other kinds of resources out there where you can get access to audio.
Well, like I said, yeah, if I wanted the opinion of assholes talking out of their ass, again, I don't, you know, you want to tell me their authority somehow, and their authority comes from what? From what have they? Well, from where do they glean their authority? Their authority. I mean, Albert Einstein. You know, everybody's. Well, I'm not going to go into it. But go ahead. Go. Whatever, Fred. I don't see. Again, you're not making a specific accusation. You're making just a vague accusation. So what's the point of it? What is the fucking point? Again, demonstrate the wrongness before I have an obligation to go find out who's got it right. And why don't you give me some names, and then I'll go read their shit, and then I'll point out how they're full of shit. How would that be? Yeah. And I certainly am not going to be fooled by the idea that they have professor in front of their name, right? Because we know what professors on YouTube are talking, and it's absolute shit.
Books or videos and stuff. Or getting conversation, rainbow. Getting conversation with people who know these things. With a bit of humility about the parlor state of your lack of knowledge. You know, get some humility.
Well, again, I'm not going to argue about my need for humility and my lack of knowledge and all this stuff. I haven't claimed to be expert in any of this stuff. I'm look, again, I can't say it any simpler. I'm saying these are my observations. You're saying they're ignorant and wrong, yet you won't prove or demonstrate how they're ignorant or wrong. You know what kind of cunt that makes you, jackass? You can't even figure out that minimum step, that if you're going to sit there and accuse somebody of being ignorant and wrong, that you just demonstrate how they're ignorant and wrong. You can't even figure that the fuck out. And I should be listening to you like you're an authority on who's smart and who's stupid? Well, I think you're pretty fucking stupid if you haven't figured out that you can't call somebody wrong and ignorant if you're not willing to point out how they're wrong or ignorant. What fact exactly do they need? And what have they stated that is preposterously outside the bounds of reasonable theory? No, you haven't done that. Shit.
About that, I would suggest. It's up to you, of course.
Yeah, I'd suggest you stick your head further up your ass.
Up in this really confident manner that you have. Because the only people, well, several things will happen. First off, you look like a fucking idiot to anybody who knows what they're talking about. Right,
okay, pussies, right? Again, if you're all that fucking pussy, you're fucking pussies, how much money do I have to pay you? Alright, give me the price tag. What does it cost to have you actually have the guts to point out where I am wrong so I can prove you to be wrong? Right? Go ahead, make a video, In Mendham is wrong, and go ahead and point out where I was wrong. And certainly make it a substantive wrong. I mean, let's not get into some sort of detail where I said there was 9 pages in the document, there was really 10. But really, you're making a bold claim, why don't you back it up? Or do I have to pay you to back it up? Pussy shit. No, I'm not the one going to look like an ass. You fucking pussies are going to look like asses. How high do I make the... Here, how high should I make the bounty? $1,000? For one of you pussies to get off your asses and prove what you claim? Demonstrate it with a little bit of evidence? Just a little bit of evidence, fucker.
And that might not bother you, that's fine. So the only people who will listen to you are people who are, as I say, easily swayed, or just like that kind of barroom what used to be called putting the world to right, you know, where you just sit down with your mates over a pint and argue the toss and none of you knows what you're talking about. It's just fun doing that. I mean...
Yeah, whatever. Again, pick a subject, shit for brains. I mean, what, you know, my analysis of the flaws in democracy, something wrong with that analysis, that the geographic bias is a fundamental destruction of our right to representation, that legislatures should be elected, that there's no need for legislative bodies to be winner-take-all elections. That analysis is incorrect.
Yeah, you can get involved in that, but if you're involved in something more, you need to up your game. So as I said, the only...
Again, I don't have to up the game. I really don't. I mean, there's people, okay, they got real degrees in these fields, and they're the ones that can be demonstrated to be wrong in their analysis of humans, even human evolution. They keep talking about our intelligence as if we incrementally acquired our intelligence, and we obviously didn't. In terms of the capacity to be intelligent, the capacity to be intelligent wasn't incrementally acquired. You know, small change, one small change made all the difference. Some 150,000, I mean, million years, 1,000 years ago, 150,000 years ago, and that made all the difference. Right, so it wasn't, you know. So again, there's a bunch of people with PhD after their name, or in front of it, who would argue that somehow we incrementally acquired intelligence, which is wrong. We incrementally educated the capacity to be intelligent, but the capacity to be intelligent wasn't acquired incrementally.
People you'll get talking at the level you're talking at. It's people who like that kind of barroom barratry, or not what you want to point on it, sycophants.
Well, whatever, pussy. You're just a frickin' pussy. I mean, you know, whatever. I mean, this is just such pussy behavior. I shall make claims from a distance. Yeah, fuck you.
You know, my mystery and me, Jay Sounder, sure he's a very nice guy. He's clearly in love with you, Gary. I'm sure you're aware of that. There's nothing...
Oh, whatever. Now that's really helpful. I mean, what is this now? What is... I mean, now you're just going for what? Some sort of buffoon video. What is now? Now it's all a joke video? It's all some kind of satire now? This style change? I mean, that would be pathetic, wouldn't it? I mean, it would be pathetic, you know, especially in the context where you've already outed yourself about your own experimenting with homosexuality and whatnot. So this is obviously just some sort of joke, some sort of perverse, disgusting satire. So who you think you're mimicking here? Who are you mimicking?
Wrong with that. That's very sweet. I like it. But it doesn't lead to unbiased, informed opinion. So if you're, for example, being cheered and cheered on by Jay Sounder, or example, and regarding what you're doing as being legitimised by that kind of approval, then again, you're not subject.
Well, I mean, there's so many layers of accusation here. First, the accusation that Jay doesn't acquire perspective on his own as an individual human being, so you malign his credibility, the credibility of his own revelation. Which is disgusting, and then you're going to make some argument that somehow I need to feed on that kind of stuff, that somehow 40 years ago when I was complaining as a teenager, that somehow I was doing it because of the accolades, the crowd was roaring and applauding. No, guess what, Fred? I've spent my entire life being so far on the outside, alright, and gaining absolutely no approval for anything I ever do. But the fact is that I am confident. That's true. I went through the fire test of my own in my teen years, and I asked myself the question, who's crazy, them or me? And guess what? The obvious answer was proven in the court I conducted. You're the assholes, jackass, not me.
Yourself to scrutiny, really. You're just not. And dismissing anybody who has an informed opinion. I've got an informed opinion, you know, and many years ago I offered to be a critical friend to you.
I don't want a fucking friend, Fred. Okay, so that's a crock of shit. And you're a critical friend does not even mean anything to me. That whole concept seems quite useless. All right, we had our disagreement because I think you came up with a preposterously inane, petty, lunatic asswipe of an excuse. Okay, for procreation. All right, doesn't have anything to do with being intellectually honest. It was the most intellectually dishonest argumentation I ever heard you make, and that's all it is. And it's just a rationalization for the lifestyle you've chosen, and that's all it was. So yes, in my opinion, you put a knife through something that had real integrity, and it was a petty knife made out of your own petty personal need to do it. And that's all it was. So yeah, so you lost all credibility as a useful critical friend because your critical judgment turned into something called emotional rubbish. Useless crap. And anyway, like I said, I'm not soliciting critical friends. I have friends in high places, people I respect. All right, now if they want to give me some advice about my need to be humble or something, then yeah, I'll take that seriously. But I'm not going to take it from you seriously, especially when it comes with nothing, no evidence, no proof, just little cheap slanders.
And you rejected that because you don't want critical friends. You seem to want to be doing this other thing. But yeah, I don't know. That's all I got to say, really. I mean, as I'm saying, match your confidence to your... If you want to participate at the grown-up table, you need to match your confidence to your...
Oh, whatever. You know, again, I don't see anything grown-up about this little hickety-dickety, bickety-bickety-boo that you people are doing. So you want to call this being grown-up is you know, exchanging fantasy narratives with each other. Go ahead, fine. I find it a laughable description of what it is to be grown up. I mean, I would have laughed at it when I was 10, and I'll laugh at it now.
Level of knowledge. Acknowledge that other people know more than you do. Acknowledge that their motivation for disagreeing with you might not be to put you down or to reinforce their own worldviews. You seem to think that I'm frightened of the truth. I think you're frightened of the truth, personally.
Yeah, well, whatever. So there you just said it. So you're allowed to think I'm frightened of the truth, but I'm not allowed to think you're frightened of the truth. So there you again, you're just demonstrating your duplicity. I mean, how the fuck can you ridicule it and then commit the same exact crime, quote unquote? I mean, that's so fucking bogus. I mean, you're just arguing that no one can know this stupid truth. You're saying everybody's supposed to be so paralyzed by humility that they don't even know what the truth is. How the fuck could I be afraid of a truth you say doesn't exist or that we can't know? I mean, you can't get any sillier than this. You're the one claiming there is no truth value to truth. And yet you're saying that something is compelling me to run away from the truth that I know must exist, that you're saying doesn't exist. You can't get how this is fucking idiotic? That doesn't make any logical sense? You can't claim the non-existence of something and then say I'm afraid of it. That doesn't make any sense.
Motivation is irrelevant in this stuff. It's to do with moving on the conversation and being grown up about it, really. I mean, are you enough of a grown-up to be confident in your own ignorance and to want to...
Well, again, I don't have any need to be confident in ignorance. It's just silly. And it's certainly silly on the subjects that I opine on. I don't need, again, there's no requirement to have... I don't even know what this isn't quantum math. This isn't even... The skill set required is minimal. You don't need a huge. All you need is some sort of to be basically informed in earth sciences to get most of this stuff. Oh dear.
In this stuff, it's to do with moving on the conversation and being grown up about it, really. I mean, are you enough of a grown up to be confident in your own ignorance and to want to do something about it? You know, that's the question. Or are you so lacking in confidence that all you've got is this kind of overbearing assertion? You know, and
well, again, I don't accept your claim, and to do something about it, isn't that even interesting? I have spent my whole life experimenting, collecting data, collecting information. I mean, probably on the high end, okay? I mean, you're talking about what, the top 5% of people who try to get the most out of their time. I've probably spent more time doing constructive educational things than 95% of the human beings on Earth. And so you're saying I just didn't do it the way you think I should have done it. The way I should have done it, in your opinion, is read somebody else's bullshit instead of getting my hands dirty in the world myself and collecting my own understanding through my own observations and my own study of the basic disciplines, the basics of the disciplines, the textbooks rather than the authority books.
desire to prove yourself right. Anyway, have a think about it, Gary. I don't suppose this. I'm sure it's water off a duck's back. I'm sure you'll ignore it. But
well, yeah, of course I'm going to ignore something that's completely an unqualified opinion. Did you qualify your opinion with any evidence or anything meaningful? No, you just again pontificated like the pompous asshole that you are. You just pompously said, Gary, look, I'm older and wiser. No, you're not. No, you're not.
whatever.
Exactly. So, fuck you. I mean, really, fuck you, pussies. Again, what's the bounty? How much money do I have to put up for you to get into a real argument about some of this shit? And to actually carry with you some sort of fact rather than, well, Professor Hindenburg says, therefore you must be wrong because he doesn't agree with you. I mean, if that's all you can do, fuck you. But again, you're going to say I'm wrong, then just demonstrate me to be wrong. Not that big a deal, fuckhead. Insufferable.